So hello everyone, good evening, and hello, and thank you for Noga for all the great food, right?
Mm-hmm. And Irma, that also today.
And Irma.
Really nicely.
So let us just first. Can you hear me over there? Yeah? Good. Before we start talking, let us greet each other in a deeper way through silence. So if we could close our eyes now, take a deep breath. Maybe try to feel each other through the deeper part of ourselves. Try to connect in a different way, less in the known social way. More through silence. Less in words, more through intimacy of the heart. Even if we don't know each other, we still share a common ground. As humans, we share the same, more or less the same world of feelings, emotions, sensations. Fears and hopes. More or less the same questions. And as beings on this planet, we share the same planetary experience. And as spiritual beings, we share essentially the same self. The same origin. So in this silence we can recognize this ground of familiarity. So now we can slowly and gently open our eyes. So, hello again. On a more socially speaking, my name is Shai Tubali. and you are most welcome to this center that I share with Noga and with Jan. And hopefully this should serve as a sort of a home for those who wish to explore together deeper truth about ourselves. Originally, I come from a yogic tradition. This is more of my spiritual training. But as you can see over there, I'm also a sort of a writer who writes too many books. But in the effort to share something that is beyond words, and that's why in a way it demands so many words. So this evening is called Vegan Expansion, and it in a way combines spirituality and veganism. And veganism, in my mind, has nothing to do with health. It is not about health. This is not why we do it, but about compassion. And this compassion is something that we start by practicing here and there. And through that we learn that our human heart can be a tremendous heart. You see, when it is contracted and focused only on the sense of a personal self, we get a heart that is very, very small, that feels that it mainly needs love, needs compassion, needs others, needs healing, needs caress. And we don't fully get how tremendous our heart can be. When we start practicing small things, and I'm saying small things because veganism is like the simplest act we can do for our brothers and sisters with whom we share this planet. We learn that we can actually consider others within this heart. And that is when we learn that this heart can become slowly and gradually a universal heart. So maybe we'll just talk a little bit about compassion and what compassion can mean and how far we can take it. Can we take it beyond veganism, beyond the act of veganism? You can hear me, right? Because I see you. Yeah? Okay. Is one act that we can do, but we can also try to stretch it a little bit more. And to stretch it beyond the limitations of the personal self. That usually divides the world into enemies and dear ones. Or those many others to which we are indifferent, that they don't appear in our consciousness or are not counted in our consciousness because they have nothing to do with our very specific and limited relationship to our world, to the world of our fears and hopes and so on and so on. And here I would like to challenge our heart. And don't worry, I'm challenging also my own heart. It's not like I'm coming here with a perfect and shining heart that only knows no boundaries. There's always more. There's always a greater growth in that. And for that, I would like to bring up one of the many challenging sentences that Jesus included in his teachings in the New Testament. We most probably know this sentence, and it will not strike us as something completely new, but of course what makes it new is if we can embrace it. Because to quote something means nothing. But to take it into our heart and to challenge our limitations, this is when reading or knowledge becomes meditation. You see? Meditation is when I use knowledge and transform it into a direct experience that changes my being. So one of the challenging statements that Jesus gave was that we should love our enemies. And this is definitely quite a thing. Again, because the personal heart that doesn't know about its potential to grow and become a universal heart, divides, its nature is to divide the world into hate and love. And Jesus says as part of this statement that there's nothing great about being able to love our beloved ones, because anyone can love the ones who he loves, right? To say that, yes, of course I love my beloved. It doesn't mean that it's not a challenge, of course. We all know in relationships what it takes. how much blood and sweat are going there in order to establish relationships of honesty and truthfulness. We know that. It takes great care. And yet Jesus says, essentially it's much easier. And it's not so impressive. It's not such a tremendous thing because anyone can do that. But can we love in such a way that a person who our contracted heart considers an enemy or considers a bad person, can we look at him or her and be filled with not mercy? Everyone can do that. You see, like I pity him. You see, that's not it. But look at him or her in such a way that the heart doesn't contract anymore, but actually expands towards him or her, and not only is able to forgive, but is able to love. And if there's anything that Jesus represents most of all, I'm sorry I keep quoting him because in 2 weeks from now I'm going to start a course of a whole year about Jesus, so I'm all filled with quotes and statements. So that's that's the reason. So if there's anything about him is that he represents this kind of universal heart that can never become contracted, even in the most awful condition of on the cross. You see, in which the very known statement is "Forgive me, Father, for they know not what they do." And in that, of course, he demonstrates, he proves the earlier statement in which he says, "Love your enemies." So then, the question is if we can practice, expand our, let's say, vegan-friendly, I don't know what your approach towards that is, vegan-friendly or vegan determination, which I bow down to this kind of determination. For me, that is one of the most beautiful acts of love, especially when it is done consciously and out of deep understanding why we do that. Then a good second step can be, okay, now can I take seriously this statement and play with it? Can I love my enemies, and not only my enemies, but what we consider the enemies of the world, those who are behaving in cruel ways and are actually harmful, because we divide the world into light and dark very often, into the good and the dangerous. So this is the question of if we can make the heart a universal heart. What is a universal heart? It means that you're not only dedicating this heart to your own relationship with the world through the eyes of one individual, But you're trying to see the world through the eyes of the universe, you see? To have the heart of the world. A heart that can include everything and everyone. And this is, you see, this is the funny thing about spirituality. One of the funny things about spirituality, don't worry, I can give you a million funny things, but one of the funny things is when we speak about unity, oneness with everything. And when we talk about oneness with everything, we usually say, I am one with the birds and the trees and the mountains and the clouds and the angels and the earth. And usually it sounds so poetic, you see? It sounds like wow, good for you. You're one with all the cool stuff of earth, you see? Of everything that is beautiful and that is sweet. So to be one with the birds and the sky, this is a very poetic kind of unity. But really, unity means that I'm also, if I am including everything in my meditation, in my heart's wisdom. This means that I'm also one with the murderer out there. I'm also one with brutal people and with everything. You see, there's nothing that my heart cannot include as part of the human phenomena, the planetary phenomena. I can take in everything. It doesn't mean, of course, that I approve of such deeds. How can I if I'm cultivating my self-compassion, right? This means that my very position in the world is one of the purest aspiration to attain this subtlest degree of harmlessness. You see? The subtlest degree of harmlessness. It means that my wish is no longer to create any unnecessary ripple of karma, any unnecessary ripple of harmful action that brings along other consequences, unwanted consequences. But exactly out of this, I resist not only hatred, but I resist my tendency to divide the world into those who do me good, who are like, they benefit me, and then they are included as my friends, as the ones that I like. And the ones that I reject, I exclude from my heart. And that begins with the people that did me wrong, or at least I think that did me wrong, you see? It always starts with the closest, because then we have real faces and real and a lot of emotional engagement, you see? So can I take one person who did me wrong, or I think did me wrong, because you see, my heart experiences everything as if my personal heart experiences everything as if things are against it, you see. But really, this is not the case. People are just doing what they wish to do or are urged to do out of their own confusion and desires and fears. So they are on their track, we are on our track. So if can I take one? Maybe we have like an unfinished business with our mother or father, with classmates or teachers, or anyone with whom we feel that we feel was, I don't know, cruel to us, brutal to us. A boyfriend, a girlfriend who were behaving in an unfair manner, so-called unfair, so-called because it's never about us. And love that person dearly, you see. And this is not easy. And if it's easy, then try again, please, because it's not about saying yeah. Of course, I love everyone. It's not like that. We need to feel in a way some degree of contraction, because this contraction is the resistance of the personal heart. It's when the heart says, "Come on, you're not really expecting me to do that. This makes no sense." So there's like, we need to feel that this door that doesn't want to open, you see. This limitation, this something that makes our heart want to unite only with good things and good people and good parts of the world. If I can open in this way, I will go through a certain contraction, like feeling the need for some barrier to melt. It's like a closed fist, a clenched fist, you see, something that needs to slowly open. First, it can be through forgiveness, but forgiveness is something very deep, you see. Forgiveness is a state in which I agree to leave my heart open, even if there is some part in me that is hurt. Lately, there was this unbelievably terrible I'm losing the word in English. Like massacre, right? Yes. In the United States. I don't know if you read about it. There was a young man in his 20s that entered a church with praying black community, and he just killed many there and hurt many others, and which is quite unbelievable that this still happens. These things still happen. And shockingly, maybe in a way even more shocking than this news, the families of the murdered ones said that they have nothing in their hearts except for love towards him. So now they were really tested, you see. This is not like me in meditation, sitting at home, opening my heart to somebody who did me wrong. This is like seeing your mother or father or son brutally murdered, and immediately after that, while being interviewed and standing in front of that guy, saying, "I have nothing in my heart except for love." This is like a very deep demonstration of the phrase practice what you preach, you see? Because they definitely practice that in real time. To be able to do that, to leave the heart open in such a state is perhaps the closest form of what we can call human grace. Now, can we take a really terrible villain, really terrible murderer in the history of mankind? Or murderers that we have nowadays. And without, of course, agreeing to what they do, because this is not at all about, it's not about this kind of evaluation. Can we reach a state in which we can include them in our heart, you see? Because this is when oneness becomes real, tangible. It's no longer a metaphor. It's not something that is extremely spiritual and abstract. Can we, in the vegan world, often there is a lot of hatred towards meat eaters. Sometimes there are such expressions that it almost sounds like meat eaters should die, you see? And this is, of course, very strange, because if we are compassionate only towards animals, but then when it comes to meat eaters, then we are not compassionate. So if it's truly harmless, then harmlessness cannot be like those really bad people and those really good animals. There has to be a certain equal vision in that way. You see, this is where we stop dividing. We stop turning the world into good and bad. And not just by some kind of indifference, which, thank God for indifference. It saves us always, right? But with practicing actually the feeling. And going through the contraction. and opening up. Because this is like an interesting meditation, right? I sit with myself and I start bringing up before my mind's eye anyone or anything that I would like to exclude from my oneness of heart, from my universal heart. And then forgive and love, forgive and love, forgive and love. Until there's nothing more left in the world that cannot enter. And there's nothing that can ever close it, you see? Because one of the attributes of the universal love is that it can never get closed, you see? Never. No matter. And our heart, the personal heart, is like it's like contracting, opening, contracting, opening. It opens gently when we learn to trust someone. You see? We check him, then we say, okay, I can trust, then I will open my heart. And then we get disappointed, then I shouldn't have kept this open. I should not be so trusting. This is where we start living instead of a heart with a clenched fist, you see, here in the middle of the chest. And perhaps if we're honest, we can sometimes feel it, that it's like that it feels like that, like a fist, rather than an open hand taking the risk, you see. And life is always a risk for the heart. Because the heart always imagines itself to be so completely vulnerable, you see. While of course the universal heart is not vulnerable at all, because it keeps open, you see. Those families that forgave and loved immediately the murderer in real time, they were actually completely invulnerable. They were just murdered, slaughtered there, and yet they were, in that sense, they were greater than life. If you can let such a thing happen and still keep your heart open, what can break you? Do you understand? It's like, what on earth can harm you? And this is so strange, you see, that love can be so extraordinarily powerful. That it's not soft, in that sense. It's very soft, of course, but it's not soft in the way that it's not fluffy. It's not cute. It's strong. It's solid. It's majestic. It's a heart without a door. You see. You don't get anymore to decide when it's closed. When it's closed. When it's open. Now the thing is, of course, that we also need to forgive ourselves. If we can't forgive ourselves really, fully, again, not mentally like, I forgive myself, of course. I understand, I did everything out of ignorance, I didn't understand. That's not that, you see. It needs to go through contraction again. And that is sometimes the hardest thing. Because often we have in our heart a deep-seated sense of guilt. A deep self-condemnation, you see. This means that in our universal heart we exclude even ourselves. We have learned to condemn ourselves as often as bad, translating our moments of confusion and misunderstanding into badness, you see. Basically what there is in this world is confusion. This confusion can not knowing what direction to take and trying different directions and making mistakes. This is like the human lot, you see. This is human fate. This is what we do here. And this self-condemnation of I am not good enough, I am not trying hard enough, this is where the seed of not being able to forgive others first appears, you see. So can I start with myself? Like cleaning myself from sins, you see? Purifying myself from condemnation. Accepting myself as a total thing, with the bad and the good, and stop dividing it. Accepting my confusion, my disorientation, my mistakes. Because there is in us a judge, you see, an inner judge that forever watches. This judge is then also externalized. And it keeps using the two words, not enough. So can I forgive myself? Can I start with that? Then can I embrace the whole of it? Just as it is, with all my past, with all my mistakes. Because you see, this is the starting point from which love begins. And from which love is enabled. The human realm is a realm of making mistakes. This is what we do here. And even the bad guys out there. It's simply a state of complete confusion, where ideas become more important than people, for example. This is where evil can appear, you see. Try to feel how these struggles to open up. And the thing is, you see, it's like, first of all, when it comes to really forgiving ourselves and embracing ourselves fully, then comes the question, am I allowed at all to do that? You see, it's almost a religious question. Am I not meant to confront a certain judge who will decide whether to do that, to permit that or not? But this kind of question, of waiting for my own trial, just keeps me from the real challenge. The real challenge is to knock on the door of my own door, and ask, okay, what can make this forever open? And it's possible. This is an amazing human capacity. We can love even when we are betrayed, abandoned, terribly mistreated. Not love the others who will love us, you see? Love those who did that. Love is, in this way, is the refusal to exclude anything. Is agreeing not to see myself at the center of the universe that keeps being mistreated, that doesn't consider oneself as the poor one. This is the greatness of the human heart. And this is, anyway, by the way, the only state in which we can really like ourselves. You understand? Because when we do that, we become so adorable. We become so beautiful. And beautiful, it is beautiful when we can embrace also darkness. Like seeing through the darkness, looking into it and seeing that it is essentially light. That essentially there is no darkness. And not because we become, like very childish and say, oh, everything is happy and everything is sweet. Everything is not happy and sweet, of course. Bad things happen. But the real question is whether I can have a universal heart, and not if bad things happen. So this is basically the meditation I'm offering this night. Forgiving myself, and forgiving someone else that I know, that I identify in my past as someone who did me wrong. Then trying to see whether I can include in my love, in my compassion, even the cruelest murderer on this earth. Then the heart becomes like a shining sun, you see. It's not a clenched fist, it's a sun that radiates towards all and everything. You see, the sun is never selective, right? Imagine the sun saying, I want to shine on this guy because he was very nice lately, and I'm not going to send my rays towards this part because I don't really like them. So the sun is simply radiating. It doesn't concern itself with dividing and selecting. It is all about being this radiation. And this is something, by the way, very, very not metaphorical. We actually experience the heart. Breaking the shackles of past and contraction and the tendency to divide and moving and coming forward, you see. Not needing to close, it becomes the sun. I would love to hear now any of your thoughts, feelings, or questions. Feel free, I just said that I love everyone, so that means that you can even say very annoying things and I will still have to love you. Yes, please.
If it was so easy to forgive myself and others, how about the will to power? How about the struggle in life?
What do you mean, how about it?
To me, it seems like I avoid this will to power by saying, I'm never the loser. I've already forgiven you. I'm not vulnerable anymore. But to me, it sounds very good. But I still have problems to imagine, to put that into practice that quickly and that easily.
First of all, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's actually very, very hard. So we actually need to want very much to to have a universal heart, to practice compassion in order to, and only then with this will, by the way, we can, and passion for that, we can gradually break through these limitations, these contractions. So that's why I'm saying, can I start with just one person? You see? One man that hurt me, betrayed me, offended me, or did anything. Can I? Because it's important to understand that it's also a form of power. You see? Yeah. And that, of course, doesn't contradict you in your life still making the effort to reach the other thing, which is achieving power, right? It has nothing to do with that. In what way do you see the contradiction?
It seems to me superhuman, firstly, to do that, to come to that point, to be able to be not vulnerable anymore.
Yeah.
And I still feel the struggle inside myself, having revenge and grieving for hopefully only for a certain time. And to me it seems like it really takes time. It's not like a decision I make now or a meditation I do now and then afterwards I shine like a sun throughout the day and everything's fine. That would be so perfect. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But I still feel I'm vulnerable and I still feel it's kind of the human experience to have ups and downs and all that.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for this honesty, because it's good to share like this. The thing is that we are vulnerable because we are keeping the heart closed. You see? We are vulnerable when we create this connection, this dependency between the state of our heart and even our general feeling and whatever happens, you see, good or bad. If, for example, I rejoice when things are going well and feel terrible when things are going bad, which is, I guess, something that we tend to do, right? This is some kind of a strange tendency that we have to be happy when things are good and to be sad when things are bad, right? This is something that, a tendency. And if this is how I am, this means that I keep contracting and opening like sometimes every few minutes. You see? And that makes me extremely vulnerable. I think this is a good defensive mechanism, you see? I think this keeps me protected, that I resist and agree. Resist and agree. I think this is a good method, but in reality, look at us. All day thinking and feeling in order to keep this defensive mechanism. Because this method doesn't work. But if I'm, on the contrary, I reach a state of balance in which I don't feel in decline when things go wrong, and I don't feel too elevated when things go very well, then that makes me like a mountain, you see? It's like things are moving, but there's such deep unaffectedness. And this is the method that we haven't tried yet. And that's why, unfortunately, only few enlightened masters, they know this method. And they keep telling that, but nobody would listen, you see? It's like people hear that and they say, yes, I understand, but I have a better method. We've tried this method as humanity for thousands of years. It works, somehow. You see, so in a way it's the same. If I start reconsidering, asking myself, yes, but does it really make me invulnerable, strong? Then if I get that, then I realize that what I think makes me invulnerable makes me very vulnerable. And then what I think might make me vulnerable actually is my one and only source of invulnerability. Then I start taking this path, you see? It's not conquered overnight. It's not like you just wake up, just as you said correctly, you don't wake up in the morning and you start radiating as a sun. But you put that before you as an ideal, as something that you would like to grow towards, and that at least sets your heart in a state of clarity that this is what you want. You see, this is the quality that you strive for. Okay? Thank you. It's not easy to be a human, you know. It is a challenge, but a beautiful one. And but for me to achieve a universal heart is not in a way non-human. It's just like a higher level of humanity, you see? It's when we start exploring what is possible for us as humans. We think that very little is possible, that we are doomed to be these tiny organisms in a state of struggle, you see? But this is not being, and we call that a human, you see? Feeling very fragile and struggling and thinking and feeling all day long and feeling betrayed and disappointed. This is not a human. This is the human that we got used to. But this is a habit of humanness. This is not what it means to be a human. A human is something tremendous. We have tremendous capacities in our mind and heart. Unbelievable. Jesus was not non-human or superhuman. He was a real human. Or a more fulfilled human. That's it. Yes, I will now use my superpowers and locate myself in time and space. Okay, yeah. So I will answer maybe 2 more questions, then we can sit in silence for a few minutes, and I will not take much of your time. Okay, yes.
Can you clarify what is the difference, or what is the middle point between repression and over?
Can you hear? Yeah, perfect. Wow, this works well. Yes.
What is the difference or the middle point between repression and this functioning of the universal heart, which for me, the way I understand it, it's like choosing consciously something, even when everything wants to contract, physically even.
Yeah.
And then to choose to expand or to choose to stay open. Because sometimes it might feel like repressing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's good. I don't know.
You mean like when somebody is really offending you, so you say all good, I feel well, yeah, like this, right?
You're my friend. I love you.
I feel nothing. Yes, this is repression, of course.
Yeah.
But this is not the way I'm talking about, and this is a good question because it's okay to feel all that, the pain and the sorrow and the fragility, and it's not about that. This is, by the way, also about forgiving ourselves. It's like agreeing that part of being a human means to feel this flood of emotions, not thinking, oh, I shouldn't feel that, I should be perfect. It's being a human means to love our imperfection, you see, to love it. I mean, look at us. It's anyway difficult, so give us a break. Yeah. So the thing is to let all this flow openly and honestly also, and despite all that, choose to go beyond. You see? It's like I feel, yeah, I'm hurt, I'm offended, I'm wounded, and still I choose to love. I choose to keep my heart open. This is when we are great. Because openness of heart doesn't mean that we need to exclude now our closing of heart. Do you understand? Openness of the heart can also include that. Yes, please.
In my imagination, I could rather be able to kill somebody who would murder my daughter instead of, or than forgiving and loving. And I don't know, maybe I understood that forgiving and loving others is step 2, and step 1 is to love ourselves and forgive ourselves. And I'm not so good at this, so...
Sorry?
I'm not so good at this. It's very hard for me to forgive myself and to be okay with my decisions and to try to love myself. And so if I could do this, will I come to the point where I could also say, yes, I could forgive somebody else who would do this cruel things? So do I first have to quit step 1 before I can do step 2?
Yeah, you can. It will not be the full thing, you see. Like it might not be reaching the deepest state of openness, because that requires also including ourselves, you see. But this doesn't mean that moving at once to what you call second phase, and that is not greatness of heart and expression of universal heart, you see. And can you do that? Yes, we can always do that. The thing with the heart is that it can always do what we say that it can do. This is what embarrasses us about the reality of our heart. It can always forgive, it can always love. This is terrible, you see, because then it means we never have an excuse. And because the heart is very exceptional in that thing. It doesn't require processes to open. It's like, it tells us you can do that at every given moment. It's just like you're a mother, I understand. So it's just like even when we're completely exhausted, and then there is still a demand, we still take this step beyond ourselves. Is that right? Towards our children. Then, even when we are completely exhausted, we will make the effort. And this is the thing with the heart, that even if we are completely exhausted, we can still make that. You see, there's no such thing as not now. It can do that. And about the first thing is really looking why do you find this so difficult? I'm actually asking you if you feel like answering.
Why do I find
difficult to forgive yourself?
Maybe I want to live the perfect fairy tale and I can't do it, and so I think, oh my God, I'm not good enough, or I'm struggling with my own decisions, and it's difficult to just take life how it is.
Yeah.
Often it's so beautiful and so nice, and the people you meet are so wonderful, but on the other hand, sometimes it's so hard.
So we want to have it perfect. And then we are angry at ourselves that we're not making it perfect, or we don't know how to make it perfect, right? Yes. But you are innocent, isn't it? You are, innocent by you are really trying. Because you said you are struggling. This means you are innocent. You are struggling to make the right thing. Can you recognize your innocence behind all this?
Yes. Yes.
Reluctantly, she said. Yeah. Well, yes.
Yes, so I say yes. No.
You wanted to make it perfect, yes, for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe other people would say yes, she's okay like that, but very often I can't do it.
Yeah, I understand. When I'm criticizing myself for my wrongdoings, and I always check behind my motivations or my actions, and I ask myself, yes, but was I innocent? You see, wasn't I trying really hard to make the right thing? Wasn't I sure at that time that I was making the right thing? Now I know that it was stupid, but wasn't I sure? And I was, all the way. And that is when I can connect to my own innocence. This is when I can forgive myself, because why would you forgive your children for making mistakes? It's because you look at them and you know they're innocent, you see? They just don't know what they're doing. Aren't we all like this?
Like Jesus said.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, and that is when we see the whole world in this very same way. Thank you. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe.
I'd like to share something.
Yes.
My experience is that when I'm able to quieten my thoughts,
Yeah.
the moment this really happens, then I become like a divine being.
Sorry?
Like a divine being.
Yes. Yes.
I can understand the birds. And this is when healing takes place.
Hmm.
And the heart is constantly
Hmm.
open.
Hmm. So you say that in a way that it all starts with being able to quieten the mind.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is.
It's very hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I was retreating
Uh-huh.
on an island in Lake Victoria
Yeah.
in East Africa
Yeah.
until my mind was completely silent.
Hmm.
And then I understood the birds
Hmm.
and many other things.
Hmm.
And my whole physiology started to change until I saw that I was nothing but golden light. Only golden light. And then, like, I could understand the birds, I could communicate with the clouds, and I kept being silent. No mental talk, nothing. And it is just needs a little practice.
That's so beautiful. We are this light. Yeah.
That is our true, deepest, innermost human nature.
Yeah.
Divine.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. And this is where we see that we are not different at all from each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
From nothing in the whole of creation.
Mm. Yeah.
And then all species talk together
Mm.
and they are in peace.
Yeah, that is true.
God is now here,
Mm.
here, everywhere. Yeah, it's a miracle.
Thank you. So let's, for the sake of, I'm willing to answer anything or respond to anything, okay? So let us now just say goodbye in the same way that we started, okay? So let's just close our eyes for some time. Take a deep breath. And try to feel together, even if as a tiny bit of understanding and experience, whether our heart can open through the understanding of this sharing, even a little more, to include rather than exclude, to be bigger than habit of fear and desire, attachment and disappointment. So I thank you so much for coming and sharing. And good night. Thank you.